The South China Sea is one of the most highly contested regions in the world, but with China claiming almost the entire area as its own, countries like the United States, the Philippines, Vietnam and India are enraged. The tension around the region is growing with a real risk of a military conflict. The stakes are high and the outcome could have far-reaching consequences. So, how has China been expanding its influence in the South China Sea? Who is opposing China's claims? In recent years, China has been expanding its influence in the South China Sea through a series of construction of artificial islands in the disputed areas. But how can some islands cause tension between countries, right? What if I told you this is the key to gaining potential monopoly over the world's international trade? And wait till you hear how devastating this could be for some countries and surprisingly, for the ecosystem. So let's first check out how China made these islands and how big they are. China moved to start creating artificial islands in the South China Sea in 2014, building them on top of rocks or reefs which were close to the water's surface at high tide. Dredging ships were used to scoop up the seafloor to build up the islands on top of the rocks. The man-made islands span an incredible 3,200 acres of new land, according to research by the Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative. But before we check out how this could turn into a conflict between countries, let's check out the environmental impacts this project has. Construction of the artificial islands requires constant movement of Chinese vessels, which further pollutes the relatively fragile marine environment of the region. And the worst part of this is the dredging process, which you can see in the picture. This process required to building the artificial islands has resulted in the destruction of the coral reefs in the area. The coral reefs, which provide food and shelter, are already facing the effects of climate change. As you can see in the picture, this removes the sand and gravel from the coral reefs, which will destroy their ecosystem. This procedure continuing on the corals, which is the spawning ground of the fish, has caused a steep decline in the fishing stock in the region. And this has affected the coastal population, whose main livelihood is fisheries. But it doesn't end there. Dredging also has led to changes in water currents. Any change in temperature and salinity in the sea waters could cause extensive damage to the marine habitat. A high sediment concentration in the water will also block the sunlight, adversely affecting the growth of corals in the sea. And effects are already showing with significant proliferation of harmful algal blooms across the region. But is this the real reason why other countries are unhappy with China? Not actually. Within this area, there lies a vast level of militarization. The entirety of the islands is being used to bolster China's military capability. Aerial photographs of the island reveal the military bases do not even allow space for a tree. China has also been increasing its naval presence in the region, conducting regular patrols and exercises. The military spaces host missile systems, radars, runways capable of handling heavy aircraft, and fuel storage facilities to support military operations and naval facilities. These islands, which have been equipped with runways, ports, and other facilities, have allowed China to project its military power further into the region. And to add more to the issue, China has claimed almost the entire South China Sea, including areas that are also claimed by other countries such as the Philippines, Vietnam, and Malaysia. China has established administrative units in these disputed areas, including a prefecture-level city called Sansha on Woody Island in the Paracel Islands. Sansha is responsible for administering several islands and reefs in the South China Sea, including those that are also claimed by Vietnam and the Philippines. And did you know, a Chinese Coast Guard vessel rammed and sank a Vietnamese fishing boat near the Paracel Islands, which sparked protests from Vietnam. And that's not all. The South China Sea contains some of the world's most important shipping lanes. The main route to and from Pacific and Indian Ocean ports is through the Strait of Malacca and the South China Sea. So, what are other countries doing about this? China's actions in the South China Sea have raised concerns among other countries in the region, as well as the international community. The United States has been particularly vocal in opposing China's claims and actions in the region, conducting freedom of navigation operations to challenge China's claims. This has led to tensions between the two countries, with both sides accusing the other of aggressive behavior. And the US is not letting this go, with conducting up to 10 freedom of navigation operations in 2020 alone in the South China Sea to challenge China's claims and actions in the region, and other countries including Australia and Japan have followed the same path. But this process still goes on, and no one knows what all this will lead to. So, what do you think other countries should do to stop this? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.